station. This is Bobo FM.
The views and opinions expressed by the following program and its participants are solely their own opinions and do not represent the opinions of DMS Broadcasting and have no affiliation to the BBC.
At the Health Services Authority, we want to keep you informed about the latest developments that impact your health because your health matters to us. Join us each Friday and Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. as we cover health news, offer advice, and answer your questions on Healthcare Today with HSA.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
All right, welcome to the show. It is Bobo 103.1 FM. And usually, guys, every week around this time, every Friday, we do a very special interview with, of course, the wonderful staff members at HSA. Whether it be marketing, it could perhaps even be a conference that's coming up, or maybe a day that we're trying to recognize, or one of the doctors that's talking about their specialty, maybe a nurse. And we need to understand more of what's taking place in the iconic HSA, which is now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, that name has changed. So as soon as I have you guys introduce yourself, we can obviously announce the new name of the hospital. If you guys don't know, then I will find it for myself at the end of the interview and do it. I think it's a good friend of mine, his dad, that they changed his name to. So I got to find it, and then I'll go ahead and name it. But guys, what we're going to do, or ladies, I should say, we're just going to have you introduce yourself, however you guys want to start. And yeah, however you guys want to name yourself and your title and how long you've been working at HSA.
So my name's Izzy. I'm one of the midwives from the Women's Health Department. And I've been here for 8 years.
Amazing.
At HSA, yeah.
So you've been here for 8 years, or you've been with HSA for 8 years?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay, good. So you just came in and jumped right into HSA.
Yeah, and I'm staying put.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Where are you originally from?
I'm from England, just outside of London.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rachel Peterkin-Smith, and I am one of the midwives working on the maternity ward at HSA, or Anthony Eden, as we now are known. I've been here for just over 4 years. It was my 4-year anniversary, I think July the 15th, and I've been at HSA the entire time.
I love it. 15 years.
No, 4 years.
4 years. But what did you say with 15? Did I hear it wrong?
Did I
15th,
say
no, you said
15?
15th of July was your
15th
anniversary.
of July.
Oh, okay.
That was right. Yes,
Okay,
that was
4
my
years.
anniversary, literally just a couple of weeks ago.
Love it. Love it. The reason I got stuck with 15, it wouldn't be hard to believe because everybody I interview from HSA has been there for 15, 20, 30 years. People usually stay at the job for a long time. You guys must be doing something right. All right, so we have one more.
My name is Tamara Riley, and I'm the Community Dietitian in Public Health, and I've been with HSA for 10 years.
Wow. See, it's like I was saying, years. All right. So what were you guys doing before? Anybody that wants to answer that? Were you guys working in medicine before, or a different job, or is this a career change, or has it always been this?
Well, I've been a midwife for 11 years, and so I was working in Guernsey before here for a couple of years.
Where is that?
Guernsey's a tiny little island between the UK and France. It's another British territory, so very similar population, similar size, and we are not governed by the UK government, but they own it, I guess, whatever a UK territory is.
What is it about tiny islands that fascinates you?
I'm from London. I'm a big city girl, and I just got burnt out, I think, and needed a slower pace.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with that.
There it is, man. I love it, guys. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. Just for the listening public, we're going to do it again when we get back into a break because we always have new audience that are tuning in for the first time. But we are here to talk about a very important topic. It's going to be World Breastfeeding Week. And is this the week that we're introducing this subject matter, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct? All right, so
It's just finished.
Yeah.
yeah. When does it start from?
1st of August.
1st of
To
August.
the 7th of August.
The 7th of August. Okay, yeah. So we're pretty much in the week right now. All right, so guys, you're a midwife. This is what your job is. So I want to ask you guys, it's World Breastfeeding Week. It's celebrated every year from August 1st to the 7th. It's a part of course, a global thing that everybody around the world, they recognize it. Can you explain it though? What is the World Breastfeeding Week, and why is it important to observe this topic?
So the whole point of World Breastfeeding Week is to normalize breastfeeding, make the general public more aware of breastfeeding so that women can understand the importance of breastfeeding, not just for them, but for their babies. And then the people around them, so their family members, their friends, their colleagues, their employers, can then help these women to have a successful breastfeeding journey. So not just immediately after having the baby, but support them in the workplace, in public, in other places, so that they can breastfeed well and have a good experience with it.
I love it. Any other remarks anybody wants to make to add to that? That's it? Well said, right? Well said, well defined. Okay, perfect. Could you explain also the theme for World Breastfeeding Week? What is the theme this year?
So I think the theme is prioritizing breastfeeding and creating sustainable support systems. So that highlights that breastfeeding shouldn't just be a personal choice for the women, but it needs these support systems that Izzy was just mentioning. So workplace, community, family, we all need to be involved in trying to support women to breastfeed for as long as they want to.
One of the things I always wanted to ask, a dad of three wonderful kids, I always say it was always a very painful experience for my wife. She would mention, especially after the second child, right? Mm-hmm. And I always kind of look at it like, as a man, I don't understand the pain. Right, I don't understand what she has to endure.
It shouldn't be.
It should not be.
Most women complain about it and some don't. What would be the reason behind that?
And I think that's something that we could probably get into.
So generally, if I were to sort of name the top reason why it's painful, it's because that there is an issue with the positioning and therefore baby's latching. If a baby's latch is too shallow, then mum will get a lot of pain in the area. And that causes soreness and, nipples to be traumatized by the feeding. So to avoid that, they need early education and intervention from, feeding through pain, because sometimes just getting the baby on and seeing the baby suck, they don't then want to take them off when it's painful because they think that so long as the baby's on, it's good. But it's really important to achieve a good latch and good positioning so that the baby not only can extract the milk, sort of the optimum amount of the milk, but it stops mum from getting that trauma and then possibly stopping breastfeeding because of that. Nobody wants to be in pain all the time for 6 months.
Yeah, and the only listen, it's for educational purposes for me, because I know a lot of men are thinking the same thing, because you go around different families and it's always different. Some moms are saying, hey, I want to do breastfeeding. I love that. Like being that close to my baby, spending that time in that moment, it's something sacred for them, right? But at the same time, there's other women too that says, I just want to get the formula. Like I am tired, I am worn out, and I kind of wanted to understand what's the thinking pattern behind it, because a lot of men would just kind of sum it up to, it's not my issue, it's not my problem, so I don't want to be educated on it. But it is something good to be educated. I want to know why women, some women are, I want to be close to my baby. And some are like, I prefer the formula.
There's an element of realism that has to come with breastfeeding. So even if you have a perfect latch, initially when you start feeding, there's going to be some soreness because someone is sucking on your nipples for hours at a time repeatedly. Yeah. So it's a little bit similar to buying a new pair of shoes. You have to wear the shoes in. So there's aspects around like good nipple care, making sure you put your nipple balm on or wearing good supportive bras and that kind of thing. So there is going to be an element of discomfort.
Yeah.
But the real pain that like Rachel's talking about is normally with like positioning and attachment issues. And then also, so how you can support, because I think some dads find it hard because they don't feel like they can help at all. But actually, if your partner is breastfeeding, then you can make sure, like I have a lot of ladies, because I do a lot more of like the postnatal stuff at home, bad back pain, shoulder pain, because you get the baby on and you're like, oh God, I can't move now. I have to sit really still. So they sit really hunched and uncomfortable. So you need to make sure she relaxes, has lots of pillows around her, keep her really well hydrated and stuff like that. And then For some women, breastfeeding isn't going to be the ideal choice for them, but there's no reason then that they can't pump and give that by a bottle. So they're still giving the baby and themselves all of the benefits, but if it's just not something that they're comfortable with, then there's ways that we can work around that to make it better.
And I think a lot of times too is the myths. Some women tend to give trauma. They project trauma onto women to say, oh, it's going to be painful, and so going in it with that mindset drives fear into some women, so they don't even want to think about trying to breastfeed. So if we try to remove the stigmas and the trauma that some women attach to breastfeeding, then I think going into breastfeeding most women might now be more open to trying breastfeeding. And I think as the nurses said, once you're in hospital and they have started that early care and teaching the women how to position the baby, how to do the initial latching on process. And I think that's one of the most important things in the jobs of the midwives, and also the some of the breastfeeding consultants as well, is that you teach women the initial latching on process first. For instance, in prenatal hospital, antenatal care and things like that, where you show them what to do before they even have the baby. So they are now more understanding. They now know what to do so that they don't end up with the pain and the trauma of breastfeeding.
That was well said what you said, because, after my first child, my first son, it was horrible in the sense of like what we had to go through, right? Like he just would not sleep regardless of what we did. And what I realized is I was projecting my horror story on other men that was around me. Like, this is what it's going to be like. And, when I went to meet with them, I felt really bad because I was like, well, something has to be wrong with mine, Dad. As a joke, obviously. So what I realized is that moving forward, I decided that my experience is not yours. So I'm going to stay away from it. And that's what I said to some of my friends that are just now having babies for the first time. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell you what my experience is. I'm going to say it's all different. It's going to be different.
It's also, people are very quick to share their horror stories. Nobody really wants to go in and say, oh, well, it was easy. My baby just latched straight on. It's been comfortable. It's been, so easy for me.
Well, it was that bad. I was like sleeping. I felt like I could not, like, obviously that's a big thing that people hear. We don't sleep. Get ready for that. That's the number one advice. You're going to lose sleep. But for me, it was really bad because obviously waking up in the morning for a morning show, then the only way Liam would go to sleep is if we put the car seat in the middle of the bed. Because for some reason, he was fascinated by the car seat. And I felt like the worst dad in the world. This is my introduction to fatherhood, and I'm putting my child in a car seat in the middle of the bed. Obviously holding on tight to it and waking up in the middle of the night half of the time, but that's the only way. And of course, when grandma came into the picture, she made everything all right. Right? Like it was perfect, and we kind of learned from there.
And some people have babies who sleep all the time.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think sleep is one of the, if you take the pain away, the sleep is the major thing I think that stops people breastfeeding, definitely. And that's all about understanding newborn behavior as well. So like part of the education that we want to give is like, actually this is really normal behavior for newborns. So when they breastfeed, not only are they eating, they're like sending messages to mom's brain, being like, Mummy, I'm here, make me, this is what I need you to make for me. So, like, do you remember like the first few days where the baby just is like on all the time, 24/7, constant. The baby's not starving. The baby's like, make me this, like it's putting in its order. So like, you go do your hurricane shop just in case. You get all this stuff in, the baby's doing that the same way. And then on top of that, if your baby is around the mum, like if you go to McDonald's and you're not hungry, but someone gets some hot chips, and you're always going to eat hot McDonald's fries. Yeah. Mums smell like hot chips to babies. So whenever they're around their mummy, they're like, oh my God, I need to eat. So it's the same kind of issue that they're eating to order, but they also can smell how good it tastes, and then they want to be on their mum. Yeah. They can hear her heartbeat, hear her voice, and that's where they've lived their entire life. So they've spent 40 weeks, for example, inside, 2 weeks outside. They're just like, no, put me back in my home. So sometimes with the sleep thing, what you can do is say he's been on and he's had a really good feed and mum's just really tired. if the dad takes the baby, so this is where then dads can be really helpful, take the baby to another room, you don't smell like chips, but the baby knows your voice, knows your heartbeat. If he's not genuinely hungry, he's just kind of snacking, then you can give mum a little bit of respite.
Yeah.
So she can have a couple of hours, an hour, and then get back to it.
I like the way you sneak that in for all the guys that are listening. Be
I don't
helpful,
know if my
fellas.
chip analogy is great.
Yeah,
but
it was good.
I just really like chips.
No,
so.
it was amazing. And fellas, I hope you took note on that one. We have this little joke that we run within the family circle and the kids. For some reason, my daughter and my older son thinks that my youngest is my favorite. And, I don't have a favorite. I love them all, but I play along with the game. And, Silas is a wonderful child. He slept through the whole... it was a complete different experience. He slept, everything was perfect. He breastfed. So I always say to the kids, yeah, of course he's my favorite. He was breastfed, right? So he gets the world. That leads me to my next question. What makes breast milk ideal for newborns?
All right. So breast milk is essential for babies because it helps with healthy growth and also help with development and preventing lots of diseases that can occur in the long term. So things like obesity, diabetes, gastrointestinal problems. As children grow, yes, they will end up with things like diarrhea and stuff like that once they start going to school.
Yeah.
But breastfeeding has antibodies embedded in it that will help to support their gut microbiology or microbiome, as we would call it, so that this can help to offset those types of infections as they get older and start going around more people. So it's their first source of immunization. And so when you breastfeed your child, you know that you are giving them their first antibiotics, their first source of any inoculation that they would get comes from the breast milk, and that is why it is so important to help with preventing illnesses. And it's perfect for the baby. It provides all that the baby needs. It provides carbohydrates, proteins, vitamin D, iodine, zinc, every single nutrient that a newborn needs comes exclusively from breastfeeding. So oftentimes people want to introduce other things. And I always say to them, if you want to have the smartest and the most brilliant kid in the room, consider breast milk.
Wow. So it's well articulated too. I love that. Some good and powerful feedback. How is it beneficial to the mom, emotionally and physically?
So,
anyone.
I guess emotionally, the biggest thing is about bonding, right? I think that's a big reason that a lot of women really want to breastfeed, is to get that bond with baby. It also, your body releases this oxytocin and helps you to fall in love with the baby. So it's a really good way to start that bond between mum and baby. But there are also health benefits. We know that it can protect against certain cancers in women. So breast cancer is the obvious one that most people know about, but also ovarian cancers. There's type 2 diabetes protection and even high blood pressure that can be helped with women choosing to breastfeed. So it's beneficial for all.
And also one of the biggest things that we usually recommend too is a lot of times women talk about their post-baby weight.
Yes,
When you exclusively breastfeed, as in exclusive means giving no other food or drink except for breast milk up to 6 months of life, you are initiating your post-baby weight loss. So that's where your exercise routine comes in. That's your exercise to your post-baby weight loss when you start to give your baby and exclusively breastfeed your baby up to the 6 months of life.
Yeah, I see why this conversation is important now, because you would be shocked at the amount of women that would have to make that final decision. It's a big number. I would like to think. I don't have stats on it, but by speaking to people here locally, they literally are choosing between breastfeeding and formula a lot of the times. They're saying, I'm going to do half.
And breast milk is free.
Yeah,
formula is
exactly.
expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
Breast milk is free. It's always the right temperature.
Yeah.
You don't have to get up in the middle of the night to make up your breast milk. It's there. It's ready.
Exactly. But also, most importantly, the health benefits, the things that you guys are saying, even the things that women feel like, okay, after this, I'm going to try to figure out how to lose some of these pounds that I put on because of the baby. You're speaking some facts here of things that, are very essential and understand. This is why shows like this are very important. Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. And hopefully, if anybody wants to send a message to us, we're on social media. So you can go to Bobo 103.1 FM. See that icon that says message? Just go ahead and click on it. Send us a message. We'll get it over to HSA. So any questions that was not asked by myself or by HSA that was provided to us, we will gladly pass it on to the team and they will get back to you. We'll be back.
The Health Services Authority has over 120 world-class physicians offering the most comprehensive range of specialist services on island. Our dedicated team of professionals provide the highest quality care in orthopedics, interventional radiology, women's health, geriatrics, and a host of other specialist areas. We are a JCI accredited organization with a proven record of excellence. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky.
All right, we are back. It's Bobo, 103.1 FM. Dane hanging out with you here, and I have some wonderful ladies here from HSA. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Again, we do know that a lot of these times that we have new listeners joining the show for the first time, whether it's via the website or via your car or maybe even the app TuneIn, which you can download on Google Play or your iPhone. Ladies, we'll start with anyone who wants to introduce themselves, your title, and how long you've been with HSA once again.
So my name is Tamara Riley, and I'm the dietitian in public health, and I've been with HSA for 10 years.
And I'm Rachel Peterkin-Smith. I am a midwife working on the maternity ward for the last 4 years.
My name's Izzy. I'm one of the midwives from the Women's Health Clinic, and I've been with HSA for 8 years.
Behind the scenes, we were talking about weight loss, a new weight loss formula for ladies out there. It is important, ladies, that you do breastfeed because there's a lot of health benefits for one, the baby, but also ladies for yourself too. Well, what did we find behind the scenes?
Yes, and I think as we were discussing between myself and the nurses, they wanted me to include the amount of calories that you could lose when you breastfeed your baby exclusively. And we're looking at 300 to 700 kilocalories per breastfeed if you do a session of breastfeeding. And that is from the World Health Organization. So that is exclusively approximately 1 to 2 pounds per month, basically. And to be honest, we usually recommend, maybe 1 to 2 pounds weight loss per week. So that is addition to the weight loss that you could actually be achieving yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for the fact checks on that because these are important information to get over on the airwaves. Guys, I completely forgot to ask you this question when we first started the show. It's always an important one, and our listeners love it when I do it, obviously, because are you guys mom? Any one of you guys are moms? You're a mom. Okay, wow, amazing.
No, not
Izzy,
me.
not yet.
No, not
in
yet.
the cards soon. All right, soon come. All right. The reason I asked that question is you guys are very passionate about your jobs. It has a lot to do maybe because, like you said, you guys are moms too. But what got you started in the job? Like, why did you choose healthcare? It always varies, by the way. It's always different answers. So.
Well, mine wasn't a vocation. I didn't want to be a midwife when I was a little kid. I think the biggest motivation for me was that I had a good and a bad experience with my midwives when I had my son. I had one that was not very kind at first, and then the one that took over and ended up doing the delivery was absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
And I remembered her, and I thought I want to do something that people will remember. I was in administration before, and I thought, well, nobody's going to remember who did their photocopying or filing, but you'll remember who your midwife was.
Absolutely. I remember mine for sure. So yeah, that's a good point. Izzy?
I actually decided I wanted to be a midwife when I was 14. My grandma was a midwife, but if I'm being completely honest, there was a TV show at home called Holby City that had midwives on it, and I don't know what happened, just something switched in my brain, and I was hooked, and no one was ever talking me out of it. So I went straight to university from school, and I've been qualified like 14 years now.
Wow.
And I don't think I really 100% knew what I was getting myself into, but I genuinely, absolutely love what I do. And especially the role I do now, even more so. Like, it's one of those jobs that just makes me so happy.
I see it. That's why I asked the question, because I could see each question that's answered, you guys are resonating that. Like, you guys are passionate about your job. Please tell me, yeah.
Oh, Okay. Well, for me, I grew up on a farm. Like both my parents were farmers, and to be honest, like because my father was a Rastafarian, I used to tell myself like there are certain things like, for instance, cabbage. Like when I get older, nobody will ever get me to eat cabbage, and so I kind of just fell into this doing dietetics because I actually was going into medicine, and then I went to a health fair and I filled out a form, and when the lady looked at it, she said, "Oh, you did food and nutrition," and she looks at me, she said, "You would be a good dietitian," and I'm like, and I remember getting a call, and when I did it, and I'm like, okay, this is the best thing I could have ever done with my life, to be honest, because now I now associate everything that my mom used to say to me. Oh, eat it, it's good for you. Like chocha. I mean, you ladies may not know chocha, but it has so much vitamin B's in it. And I was like, oh, so she may not have known the reasons behind why she would say eat this because it's really good for you.
Yeah.
But at least I know the science behind it now that I can teach my children. So I don't just tell them, eat it, it's good for you. I used to tell them why.
Yeah, that's amazing. The same thing for me. Like, originally born in Jamaica in Ocho Rios, but I only spent I left when I was 1, went to New York with my mom, and every time I used to go back, my grandma used to feed me porridge, and I hated it. I just hated it because it was like a forced thing. Like it wasn't like she would say it's because it's good for you, right? That's the only reason I'm supposed to eat it. And I was just like, guys, I'm not just gonna eat this because it's good for me. It's overkill because it felt like every single morning, like. It was too much for me, so I get that. I understand that, but yeah, I'm glad I asked that question. There's one more I'm going to ask when we walk away from the show. Before we leave the show, I think it's a very important one, and it's one that's loved by our listeners also. But what I do want to ask guys is, what local services does HSA provide to support breastfeeding moms? And this is for anyone that wants to take this one on.
So inside hospital, so immediately after birth and whilst women and babies are in with us, we start breastfeeding ideally within the first hour after delivery. Sometimes that is delayed, especially if women have had a cesarean section perhaps. But we like to start breastfeeding as early as possible and spending that time just kind of helping with latching, what it should feel like versus what it shouldn't feel like. And then just encouraging women to breastfeed their well babies on demand. So on the ward, we're just sort of there for them to, if they need our support with the positioning or if they have any questions or any concerns, just there to kind of try and help them to stick with it, support them and give reassurance and let them know that, baby is passing urine, so we know that he's getting something. That's a big thing with a lot of women. They think that there's nothing in the breast. That's
very true.
A big one that we have to deal with. So just kind of giving them the information they need to start their journey, explaining that, it's not going to be a walk in the park necessarily from the get-go, but it's worth persevering, and, the benefits definitely outweigh the cons.
Yeah, love that.
Yes, and HSA does offer a full parent craft class that is for 8 weeks. It's an antenatal program that does offer education for the moms. They go from just informing them about, the major things that comes with breastfeeding and baby care, from the dietitians, the midwives as well, and the women's health nurses. And these classes are offered over 8 weeks. For the moms and for moms and babies, and both partners as well can attend these sessions.
This is different from the support group, correct?
That's different from the breastfeeding support group. That's
Perfect.
Another thing that is offered as well.
So antenatally, we will, in the clinic, we'll start talking about breastfeeding, doing some education. There's the classes. And then obviously you have your baby, go see Rachel on maternity ward. They will do all of that support. Then once you go home, we offer free home visits to everyone that delivers at HSA. So it doesn't matter whether you have come through HSA for your antenatal care, whether you've had a private doctor, we will offer to come see you at home, like I say, completely free. And that's a public health service. And so we will do breastfeeding support in the home. Also talking about, we're just checking on you, checking on baby, safe sleeping, that kind of stuff. And then on top of the service that we offer, there is also the Cayman Islands Breastfeeding Support Group, who are mixed lactation consultants, midwives, nurses, who will also do phone support, come out and see you at home, to help support that breastfeeding journey even more. So oftentimes we'll kind of work in collaboration.
And they also come to the ward as well. So they'll come and literally just sort of ask, are there any mums that need to see me, or just any breastfeeding mums? And they go around to each woman who is breastfeeding or wants to breastfeed and gives them advice on the ward as well.
Yeah.
You can reach them at cibreastfeeding@gmail.com, or you can call 945-1751. That's 945-1751 for the Cayman Islands breastfeeding.
Do the email one more time, please.
The email address is cibreastfeeding@gmail.com.
All right, thank you so much for that, guys. So there's some common concerns here, challenges. I don't want to call it concerns, but challenges. How can moms overcome like breastfeeding challenges that they may face?
So like we said before with the pain, nipple pain is a big one. So it's about, good attachment. But when I talked about like the wear and tear, so you can buy nipple creams that you can use. A really good way to help against nipple pain is actually just hand expressing some breast milk and rubbing that on the nipple, and just where you can, just keep your breast exposed so that your nipples can kind of have a bit of fresh air to heal and harden up a little bit. When you do latch, make sure you're try. I know it's hard, but try to be as relaxed and as comfortable as possible so that you then don't put a shallow latch on and sit uncomfortably, making all of these things worse. So have all your pillows set up, get your partner or whoever is with you to get you some water so that you can actually sit and enjoy the experience and be comfortable while you do it.
I think the major thing for me is to ask for help early.
Yeah.
So if you're uncomfortable during a feed, we talk about the initial maybe 15 seconds, maybe you feel a bit of a pinch, but you shouldn't be feeding through pain. So if it is a painful experience, you need to seek the help, whether it be from the midwives on the ward or the breastfeeding support group when you're home, or the community midwife that comes out to see you. Ask for help early so that you can rectify whatever the problem is, and then you'll be able to continue on with the journey.
And if you have to go back to work, some people have to go back, unfortunately, some people have to go back to work early.
Yeah.
Although we're advocating for longer time for moms to be able to stay home with their babies and bond with the baby, breastfeed exclusively. But for those who may have to go back to work early, we suggest that you start planning and preparing for that. Start pumping your breast milk, and you can label them. What I usually suggest is that you start label them by the date that you first do the pump. So put them, and we usually use the first in, first out method. So what you do, you label them with the date and the time that it was pumped, and you start freezing them accordingly. And you do the first one that you put in and the date, you start using it that way. So you start putting those to the front, and the ones that are earliest, you put those to the back, so that you're able to continue feeding your baby while you have to go back to work. And speak with your bosses, your supervisors, your colleagues as well about getting time, if you can take your lunchtime to go home to breastfeed as well.
Love that. Guys, this conversation has been very educational. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be wrapping up some of the last bit of questions and ask some very intriguing ones before we leave. All right. So thank you so much for all of our listeners that are staying tuned. We're going to take a quick commercial break, so don't go anywhere. And if you have to leave the car, don't forget you can stream us live at stingraymedia.com.
Health Services Authority is now offering online payment options for patients. Patients of HSA can now pay their bills, including deposits, towards scheduled services online at payments.hsa.ky. The secure, new online payment system accepts debit or credit cards and is in addition to the available payment options of cash, check, and online bank transfer. For quick, easy, and secure payment directly from your phone or computer, visit HSA's new online payment system at payments.hsa.ky.
Welcome to Bobo 103.1 FM. It's Dane hanging out with you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show up until now. For those that have been with us from the start, you obviously are very intrigued with the conversation. Like I said, if you have any questions, just go ahead and send us a message on social media at 103.1 FM. Search Bobo first. Put Bobo 103.1 FM. Once you find it, just go ahead and send us a message. If they're not in the studios anymore, what we can do is get the questions to them and then they will obviously get back to us. All right, ladies, you guys know the routine now. We're going to ask you again, just your name and title. You don't have to say how long you've been working with the company. Just a reintroduction to our new listeners.
My name's Izzy. I'm one of the Women's Health Clinic midwives.
And I'm Rachel. I work on the maternity ward for HSA.
And I'm Tamara, and I work with the Community Health and Public Health Department.
You sound like you were unsure. Were you unsure?
I don't know. The tea I spaced out.
Yeah.
It's really good.
That's some good tea. All right. So a very important question. How soon should a mom start breastfeeding after giving birth? Very important one.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Ideally within the first hour.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes even sooner than that, depending on the type of delivery, how she's feeling after delivery and what's happening with baby. I like to get skin to skin for, deliver the baby onto mum's abdomen or onto mum's chest, initializing skin to skin immediately. And then sometimes that just naturally falls into a breastfeed. And if it's not as natural as that, I try to get baby on within sort of half an hour to an hour max.
I miss that word, skin to skin. It was like that one thing I was first told when the baby came out, like that was important, and how important it was. Maybe we can get into that soon. But yeah, so right away you would say the first hour of birth. Okay, good. Lash on, since we talked about skin to skin, there are some babies that do not lash on to their moms right away. Mm-hmm. How should a mom deal with that, and how does she maneuver around that?
So the skin to skin is really good. It's the first thing that I would suggest. It helps to regulate baby's temperature. It's good for bonding. It's good for initializing breastfeeding. They sometimes start to kind of root down to or up to where the nipple is. So skin to skin is great. Also, if baby's not latching immediately, they can try some hand expressing to see if they can sort of mechanically get colostrum from the breast so that baby then can be fed with that. And we collect it in a syringe and then feed it to baby from there. What's another thing that we do?
Well, sometimes if women are a bit poorly after delivery or have had a cesarean section, we do realise that we're not able to give that skin to skin immediately. So as much as we love to do it straight away, it's important to remember that actually any skin to skin is excellent. So when we have a C-section delivery, what we'll often do is do skin to skin with dad when the baby comes back to the ward, and then as soon as mum comes back and is well from theatre, then we'll do the skin to skin at that point, just to start the breastfeeding process then, because we know that not every birth goes exactly as maybe you had planned in the first place.
Yeah, that was good, guys.
And just to add to, I know we have to promote breastfeeding because it's so essential for the baby and the moms, and it's very important because of the health benefits. But for moms who are unable to breastfeed for some reason or another, and most times it's medically unable to breastfeed, that's the moms I'm talking to right now, just remember that we're here to support you. We will provide you guidance for how you could still feed your baby and provide your baby with the essential nutrients that they need for growth and development.
Yeah. You have no idea when moms go back to work after breastfeeding for a certain period of time and they're getting back into the work atmosphere, I don't think we acknowledge how many women have a hard time with their employers understanding that they have to continue in a certain routine. So I think the question to ask, if you guys know the answer to this question, is are employers required to accommodate a mom that's in the middle of breastfeeding and needs to probably be on a time clock? Yeah, I know you mentioned earlier that you said that they should obviously pump as much as possible and keep enough breastfeeding there. But sometimes women struggle with that, right? So do you know the answer to that question?
Well,
if employers should be lenient?
There's no law as yet. I think that employers are encouraged to provide private areas for mums who are pumping to maybe pump and to facilitate women who are still trying to continue breastfeeding after going back to work. But as yet, it's not sort of a legal requirement for them.
And more companies, I mean, not just public sector, but more and more private companies are providing exclusive spaces for moms to pump and also breastfeeding rooms. There is, even at the airport, there is a, private area for children to play, breastfeeding area. So it's a recommendation, and we would hope that at some point this recommendation will come into policy where we do have these for persons who work in the private sector as well as public sector, so that the moms can really benefit. It's good for the workforce, it's good for the moms, it's good for the babies, and it's good for the nation as well.
Yeah, I'm glad that some companies are stepping up and making it possible for women to not obviously have to go through any type of situation at work if they have to go home for any reason or if they keep a certain schedule. There are some workforces that are working with the mom. So I appreciate those. I can't name them all, obviously, but I do know of some really good testimonies of some companies out there that are standing up to that. Hey, something you want to add, Izzy?
No, it's just this is breastfeeding is the beginning of a child's health journey. So by supporting your employee to breastfeed, you are actually supporting the future children of Cayman to be healthy and avoid all of the problems with, asthma, diabetes, blah, blah, blah. That's going to help Cayman's future. So just by giving a woman a room to pump, you're making a huge difference.
Well said. Well said. And with that being, we're still on this topic, like how long should a mom, because I've heard some stories, so how long should a mom breastfeed for?
Well, the recommendation is the World Health Organization and UNICEF recommend up to 6 months of life, exclusive breastfeeding, no other food or drink should be administered. And when we say no other food or drink, this is inclusive of water. But after 6 months, we recommend complementary foods, which is foods from the family pot, where the breast milk supply is still there, but it doesn't provide the baby with all the essential nutrients anymore to continue their full growth and development. But we do recommend you continue to breastfeed while giving complementary foods up to 2 years of life. However, a mom can continue to breastfeed for as long as it's okay with her and the baby. If your baby still wants to breastfeed, you can continue to breastfeed. But what we do not recommend as clinical dietitians is to now have breast milk after 6 months or after 2 years being your child's only source of nutrients, because it will not be able to sustain them, and sometimes that can pose a problem for the child's growth and development. So when they get to 2 years, we start to put emphasis more on food from the family pot to encourage your child's growth and development, while breast milk now becomes this supplementary feed.
I love that. All right, so for all our guys out there, how can we support our moms and our wives, but when it comes to breastfeeding? It's a hard one, right? Just be there. Just show up.
Just be understanding. Just be supportive. If she's just had a baby, obviously your life has changed too, but her life has really changed. Her body has changed. Her hormones are changing. And your role is just to be there for her. So yes, you maybe can't breastfeed the baby, but you can change the baby's nappy, you can wind the baby, you can make her a cup of tea, you can make sure she's comfortable, do a little bit of the heavy lifting outside of the breastfeeding world, and just then be her advocate. So if she needs to say breastfeed in a cafe and someone looks at her funny, you sort that out, or you tell her don't pay it any mind. Like, you're eating, that person in the cafe is eating, why can't your baby eat? So you need to be her advocate and her rock to kind of support her through this time.
And guys, it is true. Anything. I'm going to be very honest with you. The amount of my friends that I've sat down and said, no, you do not have to get a divorce because she said that you were the worst person in the world. She did not mean that. I mean, that honest, you have no idea how it is. And I don't want to know, to be honest with you, how it is to have a life inside of me. And it's pressing against every single organ in my body. Like, I can't even begin to think about how that feels. So she's still going to stay with you after the birth of the baby. And I always say to them, like, I promise you, you love her now, but you're going to love her way more when you see her give birth and that baby comes out. And it's always the case. But I agree. There have been some things that have been said by women during that pregnancy stage and after for some reason.
And just to add to that as well is that I'm sure nurses know about because they work with the moms, in homes and everything. The postpartum part of it is usually, sometimes that is what sometimes drive that wedge between breastfeeding and the mom, because they're going through so much postpartum changes with their hormones. It's almost like it's so unexplainable, and that's one of the things too that we usually try to advocate for moms who, when you have your baby, you're not going crazy. You're not crazy and you're not going crazy. We know this for a fact, that the hormones become so overwhelming to the point where sometimes even the baby is small and the baby looks overwhelming. And so we want the families, the fathers, the friends, if you can show up for moms who, whether they did a C-section or a natural birth, show up for them, because they are going through a flood of hormones at that time to carry a whole life onto this planet, full term, a healthy, bouncing baby. And they should breastfeed.
Yeah.
It's something that they need a lot of support. So if they're going through a lot of postpartum issues, your job is to let them know that you're not crazy. It's okay. We're here to support you with the baby.
I think you're a little bit crazy sometimes.
Point.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
It just came into my head as you were talking. I think a really important role for dads is to protect the time around breastfeeding, because families are always so excited. They want to see the new baby, and sometimes you have like a queue of people outside the delivery room. And really, those first couple of hours after birth are so important to establish that kind of bond and to get to grips with how to hold your baby for feeding. And even when you go home, if you're going to visit, go with some food. When you go to the house, go and tidy up, or do things that are helpful, so it allows mum time to rest and really get to know her baby and fall in love with baby and feel comfortable feeding. And some women are more comfortable than others with, not that the whole breast is exposed, but, some people feel quite shy to start to feed. So if you see that she's preparing to feed, ask her, are you okay for me to stay, or do you want me to leave for a minute? Just give them the time to really establish the feeding. And then there's plenty of time. We've got the whole of this baby's life now to get to know them. But let mums and dads just really enjoy those first few hours uninterrupted, so they can kind of get their heads around how they're going to do things.
Yeah, that's so important too. This has nothing to do with what you just said, but it's so helpful to a mom, even the small things when it comes to food, and just planning around that, and family members can be involved, because I attend this church here in the movie theaters in Cayman Bay, and every time the leaders, like a leader gets the baby is born, and there's a lot of leaders there, they would send food on a daily basis, 2 times a day for 2 weeks straight. And it's the moms always said that is so helpful. That gives me so much more time to do more, right? So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the community support by your family members and your friends are so important, right? So you want to see the baby, but no other ways that you can help too, besides coming to visit just the baby. Guys, with this going on for this week, what are some of the activities that you guys are going to be doing surrounding Breastfeeding Week? Is there any activities planned? Just education, I think, is a big one, right?
We've had, there's been some good conversations that have happened that I'm not sure if they've been broadcast publicly, but education for the health services around what we can do to support breastfeeding mums. How can we help mums to breastfeed for longer? Might help mums to not give up or stop breastfeeding at 6 weeks or 1 week. And so we've been doing a lot of learning. I think we're definitely having a breastfeeding conference, but that's not until October. And this week
there was a webinar yesterday as well.
Yeah.
I remember the webinar was on yesterday.
Yeah, we did some announcements here too at the radio station, just the different activities that you guys were doing. But you guys just mentioned it. There is a conference in October, and obviously you did a webinar yesterday, so we mentioned those things. And obviously now you guys have been told to come here to do this interview, so that's one of the activities. But I think it's just surrounded around education. I think that's the big
For
part,
us,
right?
every week is breastfeeding week.
Yeah, exactly.
So if anyone wants to talk about breastfeeding outside of this week, then you know where you can find us.
That's why it was so shocking to ask that question. How dare you, Dane? We do this. This is our job. It's no awareness. It's every day. All right. So, guys, my last question for you guys before we wrap up the show is there is a young lady that's listening right now, and she's trying to make a decision on what's her career path going to look like. And she's been very intrigued by this show, by what you guys were talking about. And this may be the path that she wants to take for the individual's career that you guys have taken. We've all, you guys have told us the reason why you decided to join your field that you're currently serving in. But what I like to always get out of any one of the employees at HSA is that story that sticks out to you every day, that person that you will never forget. Because you said something important, Rachel. You said that people really don't forget their midwives because they made you feel bad or they made you feel really good at a very important time. But also we forget about the stories that you guys lived through, right? Yeah. There might have been a patient that you guys dealt with and you're like, you know, I'm going to be a part of that person's life forever. And you know that. So is there a story? Obviously, we don't name any names, but maybe there's somebody that sticks out in your mind because of something that happened and you handled that situation so well. And it's okay if you don't have that story, but I'd like to ask that.
I mean, I don't know. For me, here is so lovely to work because you get so many of them. And because I've been here for a while now, I know a lot of people so I've delivered their baby and then I've seen them again and again and again, and then you see them around and about in the supermarket. So I think just Cayman as a whole for me has made my midwifery career so much better. And I've been really lucky that I've had a couple of patients who've maybe had a very difficult experience with their first pregnancies through loss or something, and then I've had the privilege of looking after them and helping them then get a really lovely, healthy baby at the end. And there's a couple of girls that stick in my mind with that, and they are very precious to me. And if I was in England, I wouldn't see them again. I wouldn't get that experience to hold their baby and go through that journey with them. So I think for me, those girls are special, but all of them are very special.
I love that.
I think that for me, it's always sort of a situation that maybe either starts off and it doesn't look like it's going to be too good, or partway through the journey, it's a bit sort of hairy, and then you get a good outcome. And it's just that sort of, we have a really unique job in the sense that we have 12-hour shifts, and you come in and the first part of the day, you've never seen this person, never met them at all. And by the end of it, it's cuddles and kisses on the cheek. Yeah. And, it's almost like you've made a best friend in 12 hours. And people are just so grateful. And we're really grateful to be part of their journey. It's so unique. But I can't put my finger on one particular thing. But I think that's what it is. It's just that being able to be a part of such an important and special time in families' lives.
You feel like part of the family.
Yeah. One of the most important things.
It's just because my job is so diverse. I work both clinically and I also do a lot of outreach programs. And the fact is that most times people will walk up to me and say, "Oh, Miss Tamara, I heard you on the radio," or you saw my mom at home and she's doing so much better. Especially when you have patients who are on tube feeds and they weren't doing so good, and you go back the next time and they're sitting up and they're more pleasant. They're now able to interact with you when previously, when you visited, they weren't able to do any of those things. And the fact that most times I don't remember the family members, but then they will see me and they will talk to me and say, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't remember them.
Yeah.
But you can see that you had an impact. But when I see the family member, I remember that, okay, this was the person that I saw. And that's one of the main reasons why I love this job so much, because it's so diverse. It doesn't, nutrition is such a diverse science, and it makes it so unique. And it gets me working with midwives and doctors and other nurses and other healthcare professionals, and a lot of persons on the road. So I love it.
Well, you know what? This interview was not short of passion. There was a lot of passion in this interview for sure, and a lot of information, information that's needed for moms, especially if they're pregnant right now and they're listening to the show for the first time. Or maybe there's a fella that's listening and they're saying, I know how to support my wife now, or I know how to support my fiance or my girlfriend, which is very important. These are the takeaways that we want to get, right? And just how important it is to breastfeed for those women that were considering, how do I do this, right? You know, should I split it? Should I listen to the recommendation of my best friend that told me that, no, it was painful, or maybe they're, like you guys said, no, that was probably because you were doing it wrong. But now you got the information. And like I said, if you have anything else that you just did not hear on the show and you have a question, please reach out to us. We want you to reach out to us. You can send a message on our Instagram page at Bobo103.1 FM, and we'll gladly pass it on to the HSA team, and they will get back to us, and we'll definitely be back in contact with you. Any last minute things that you guys want to add before we wrap up?
Well,
No, after you.
okay. Well, I just want to let all the moms and expectant moms know that we're here for them. We're here to provide them with the support that they need to continue their journey that they've started. Because once you decide to become a mother, it's not ever going to be an easy job, whether it's breastfeeding or not. So we're here to provide you with the support that you need. If you need nutritional advice as to how to eat well, stay healthy, so that you can provide a good supply of milk, because the milk quality also does matter. Quantity, yes, but quality is more important.
Yeah.
So we're here to help you with all your nutritional needs for you to supply the best quality breast milk for your newborn baby.
Love that. Love it.
I still haven't thought of mine yet.
Izzy, we're gonna, and Izzy is pretty much, we got Izzy now. She's wearing that Cayman chain, so she's one of us
I've
now.
got a coin around my ankle as well.
You're not going back.
No,
I
you're
love
stuck
it.
with me.
Love it.
Just remember that our parent craft classes are every Monday, and they are completely free for everyone from 5 o'clock. We do breastfeeding, but loads and loads of good educational stuff. And if anyone is stuck, or they're worried about something, or they have a question, like, I don't mind if anyone wants to pop down and have a wee chat. Like, I'm in Women's Health Monday to Friday, 8 till 4:30. I'm very open to talk to anyone who wants to talk to me about anything and everything women's health related.
Love it. All right, Rachel.
I think mine is going to be to just reiterate, ask for help. You know, don't feel like you need to push through or you need to work it out yourself. It's always worth just saying, you know, if you feel that there's a bit of a pinch, can you check my latch? Or is it okay that baby's feeding every hour on the hour? Or whatever your questions are, just ask for help before sort of throwing the towel in and thinking that you've done something wrong, because most issues can be resolved.
Love it. Ladies, thank you so much for being a part of the show today and taking time out of your busy day. And we hope to see you again. We know that usually a lot of the departments come to visit 4 or 5 different times. So I'm hoping to see you guys at least 3 more times. All right. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks.